I am so tired of people condemning, villainizing, and demonizing single mothers. I mean, like, what single mother hurt you? Because people are really on a whole campaign to tear down single mothers. I was just recently watching the It's Giving podcast, and this woman proceeded to say that she believes that the entire issue is single mothers. While I will say that I do agree with some of the things that were said in terms of how single mothers raise their sons and daughters, but did you ever consider why it's the way that it is? You have to, number one, go back in history of the agenda that was intentional to try to destroy our community, number one. And number two, every circumstance is different. Every case scenario is different why someone is a single mother. Did you ever consider the woman who actually was married and was abused, and she could not foresee that her husband was going to turn out to be an abuser? Is she then to be held responsible for that person's behavior when maybe she didn't even know if she was going to make it out alive or not? Is that the single mother's fault? Because that's my story. I was married. I got married when I was 22 years old. I had no idea that my circumstance was going to turn out the way that it did. The person was 11 years older than me. I had to be held accountable for my choices, yes, because I was still an adult, but I didn't know any better. I was not privileged enough to come from a two-parent home, and a lot of us were not. And I wonder why that is. Congratulations that you came from a two-parent home. You seem to be very prideful of that. Congratulations that you chose to marry right. Genuinely, I'm truly happy for you because I truly want my people to succeed. But to villainize, to demonize, to condemn single mothers as if they are the problem when they are not to be responsible for another human's decisions. And I find it interesting because our people are the only people that publicly condemns each other the way that we do. We have to demonize and villainize and consistently spew that type of rhetoric that's also poison into our community that feeds into the narrative that therefore causes us to not be able to build healthy families. I also think that, yes, again, the woman should be held accountable, but so does the man. I think there needs to be accountability and divine intervention within our community in general. How do we expect someone to be able to recover from these things when we're trying to make it seem like that it's not possible for them to fix their mistakes or to be restored in those areas? Why not empower? Why not encourage? Why not build up? Why then try to make it seem like single moms are not allowed to be able to have victory in this area? Let's take Ciara the singer as an example. I think she's a beautiful example of how a single mom can be redeemed. A single mom can be restored. This is the type of God that we serve. So I don't buy into the rhetoric. And truth be told, a lot of women just probably wanted love. Maybe they didn't have the privilege of being able to come from a two-parent home where they didn't have the father or a male role model in their life. They are looking for love in all the wrong places, and maybe that's the only way that they feel like they can have love. And I was one of those people. God had to really heal me and do the work within me. But that doesn't mean that a single mom doesn't deserve to have victory. That doesn't mean that the single mom does not deserve to be redeemed. We're all guilty of doing something. Maybe you don't have a child to show for your mistakes, but there has been something that you have done wrong. And so for anybody to condemn anybody is disgusting. For anybody to demonize and villainize anybody who's not trying to cause harm to anyone, but maybe they're trying to figure it out because they weren't taught any better. So I do believe that people need to be held accountable, including single moms, but it should not just be all on the single mom because it takes two people to procreate. You're a very smart woman. It seems like you know your metrics, and it seems like you know that you have the support of men. And it seems like people are condemning single mothers. Did you ever consider the woman who was SA'd and she decided to keep the child? Did you ever consider the woman who was a widow who ended up a single mother? Did you ever consider that somebody might have passed away, and decided to take on someone else's children out of the kindness of their heart? Truth be told, a lot of children would not even be taken care of if it wasn't for a woman taking on the responsibility. There's a lot of men that seems to hate women. That seems to hate women and actually are not honest with themselves that they might actually like men. And there's a lot of hatred towards the single mom. I don't even want to be with that type of guy. But I will say, just because a woman is a single mother, that doesn't make her less valuable than a woman who doesn't have a child. And it doesn't make her any more valuable just because she has children and women may not be able to have children. So life has a funny way of humbling people. You never know what the circumstance is going to be. I would not even wish being a single mother on my worst enemy. Because first of all, meanwhile, while you're condemning the single mother, most of us are condemning ourselves because we're having to carry the weight of the responsibility of taking care of children or a child when someone else maybe chose not to. But yet those same guys are the ones who are proceeding to show that type of hatred towards the woman when maybe they were raised by a single mother and maybe she didn't do the best that she could because it wasn't meant to be done alone. And there was an agenda. But not only that, yes, I do believe women should be held accountable for their choices of who they choose. But is it the woman's fault if a man decides to get in trouble with the law, therefore leaving her with a child to take care of? Is that the woman's fault? Maybe he didn't start off that way. Maybe he turned into another person. Those things happen. There's many different case scenarios. It's so interesting that a person can condemn a single mom as if they are better because maybe you didn't make that mistake, but you've made mistakes in your life. So maybe you don't have a child to show for your mistakes. But at the same time, that doesn't make you more valuable. In fact, there's people that have nasty spirits and their character is disgusting. Does that make them valuable because they don't have a child? No. It's about the content of the person's character. So we have to be careful about how we discuss or how we tear down the single mother. Not everybody chose to be a single parent. I think it's very nasty work for someone to be so prideful and boastful to make it seem like they're better just because they don't have a child. But you just never know what the circumstances might bring. So it's always important to walk in humility and show grace to people.